Hello, my name is Rielly Stares, Feng Shui decorator, on behalf of my company, Mystic Taxi. And this is a mystical Feng Shui reading of the proposed new 3-story building at 391 Barrie Street across from McBurney Park. As it stands now, in July of 2025, this building was recently sold, and now a proposal has been submitted by the new owner to rezone this land and allow for a 3-story residential building. Its most recent incarnation before the sale was as the Community Midwives of Kingston office. These are some pictures of the inside of the building in this incarnation. You can see how beautiful the glass brick windows are and how light and airy this building feels, and also how spacious it seems. I'll also point out the lovely closets in this building that this building shape produces, which I will mention later on too. Community Midwives of Kingston has now moved to 61 Hyperion Court, leaving this building behind. This lovely building was built in 1950 to be a medical clinic and was owned and operated by the Victorian Order of Nurses. It was called the Kinsman Clinic for many years. This is what the plans for the new building in 1950 looked like, photographed from the Whig Standard and from Jennifer McKendry's book, Architects Working in the Region. According to McKendry, this building was designed by an architect named Logan Volume Gallagher. What a name. Judging by his middle name Volume, I suspect that this man must have been an American Quaker, and I think I'm right because I found another listing for a possible older family member whose name was Logan Sample Gallagher, who was born in Pennsylvania. The middle names sound too much like Quaker names for it to be a coincidence. This man had no listed place of birth, but he died in Michigan. When I asked Google who Logan Volume Gallagher was, the AI answered that he was born in 1907, and then added, "There is also a Logan Gallagher who plays for the Humboldt Broncos, a junior hockey team, but it is unclear if this is the same person." That's so cute. Anyway, this building was praised at the time for being a brilliant exploitation of a triangular lot. As I was getting ready to do this video, I by chance met a friend who said that this property was the location of a gatehouse for the main entry to Kingston from Picardville, the French village. This triangle is such a memorable little piece of land that I imagine in every time period it was a charming and remarkable sight. The 3 streets that surround this building are York Street, Ordnance Street, and Barrie Street. The building takes up 84% of this lot. The windows are going to be replaced on the first floor, so all of this brick will be removed, I think. The other 2 stories are going to be built on top of what is already here. The structure is across the street from McBurney Park on one side, Kim Snyder Goldsmith on another side, and the Store Famous on the other side. Nice! This is a red brick building with a prominent chimney stack in front of the main door. The main door is pointing out toward the east. There is currently a lot of green space around the building with lovely foliage. There are pink roses at the eastern end of the chimney, and those roses are a key to the grace and beauty of this property as it stands, so hopefully they make it to the end of this process intact. If they don't survive, I recommend new pink roses. The light and soil are perfect for them, and they like the wall because it keeps them warm. The roof has a significant overhang. The building has 2 entrances, a primary entrance on the eastern corner of the building at York and Ordnance, and a secondary entrance on York Street at the northern corner of the property close to where York meets Barrie Street. The rezoning and all of these plans are going up for public discussion, which excitingly gives us access to plans for the build to discuss and debate. This building will be reducing the amount of green space because of the accessible entrances. The plans describe explicitly the protection of the Norway maple, which is on the northern corner of the property. This plan explicitly dedicates itself to replenishing the site with flowers and greenery. 391 Barrie Street currently has a basement and a main floor, and the proposal is to change the zoning from medical office to allow for a total of 4 residential stories, including the basement, 9 units, and 22 bedrooms. In my opinion, the design of this building building is pretty good, and they have made a lot of great decisions here overall. This is a triangular brick building with a yin metal signature that, as planned, will be 3 stories instead of just 1. The population density is also going to be high. With a feng shui profile like this, the building is going to attract parents, children, and pets, growing families, and the number one job of the designer is to keep this space cool, make it quiet and soothing, and the second job is to make it quietly interesting and fun. This building should have good air conditioning and a calm, soothing aesthetic inside with a nice variety of interesting neutrals. This building wants cool, soothed, and focused little ones in these close quarters. I'm getting a feeling it was a delicious treat and challenge to work on a triangular space. The space is always going to be a little bit against the grain, a little bit misunderstood because it's a building with a metal signature and a strong fire accent, having a red brick and triangular base. She's a daring beauty. I think we should all help this building to be the success that we want it to be, whatever that success happens to mean to each of us, and we should help the developer, whom I think will need a few different kinds of support for this project to go well. Ultimately, it's in all of our interest to pay attention to what's going on here. Some details about the outside. I would like to see a wheelchair lift on the back secondary entrance of the property. It might take some reconfiguring and removing the railing and maybe moving the stairs to the street side and putting the lift to the right. I think it would work really well. It's really important in this building to preserve the outdoor water tap in the north. Whomever is taking care of this property would be able to use it. The thing I strongly disagree with about this plan is to have a large 6-foot metal garbage receptacle outside of the front door. I would move that either to where the proposed bike shed is now in the southeast on Ordnance Street, or the southwest point of the building on Ordnance and Barrie, or probably the most logical at the northern corner of the property. I would put it on some pavers and make a nice accessible path to it, but I'd love to see it go in a different spot. Here's why. The area in front of the main door should smell nice. This is a little gathering place that should be as big as possible and as welcoming and relaxing as possible. Some of these apartments have 4 bedrooms, which means that there are potentially large families with many children and possibly pets, and they should all be relaxed enough to stand outside of the front door and mill around before they embark. I don't want anyone to feel forced out onto the sidewalk or on the street before they are organized, because that would not be safe. The more room there is for more inhabitants of the building to feel as though they have all the time in the world before they go somewhere, they are much more likely to take their time to cross the street safely if it doesn't smell like a garbage receptacle and if it isn't cramped. This beautiful design is by E.R. Trout Design, and they should be commended for the great job they did. Using these drawings, I whipped up some quick little sketches of some fun color stories for the outside of this building. So my first experiment was to see if you were to paint it all one color, what would that color want to be? And it's either green or it's gray. The thing that really struck me is everything between black and white, not including either of those, was pretty good, except for the really dark and the really light. Anything that was a pure mix between gray and green was good, like somewhere in the middle of that. Dark green was pretty good, and sort of a pastel shade of green was pretty good. Anywhere in the tan family didn't seem to work. Anywhere in the blue family didn't seem to work. Purpley family didn't work. Anything with too much yellow in it didn't work. So that's what I'm prescribing, is probably a gray or a green. Both of those would be fine, in line with the feng shui signature of the building. Then I went into some color blocking, which I thought was very exciting. I did some examples of full-scale color blocking, which I think works because it makes the building seem friendlier and more interesting. The color palette that I'm using is generally foresty neutrals. I would use a color palette of grays, greens, browns, tans, black, and white. This shows a little bit of what the building is going to look like. I used some color blocks pretty extensively on the outside so that it looks interesting and friendly and less tall than it actually is. I like the effect of painting another color behind the balcony to make it look like the glass has a different color. On the whole, I would go with dark and neutral natural colors on the York Street elevation. It's not appropriate for this building to elevate into the sky. It's much more soothing for it to ground and cool down and make this whole view look like a library or a school. I made it a couple of different options for each view. This is my ordnance street view. As you can see, the colors here are lighter and more vibrant because this is a southern facing exposure and should be fairly light colored so it doesn't attract so much heat. The potential for this to be a really sweet building is in the complexity of the paint. And finally, here is the third elevation on the Barrie Street side. There's a nice foresty feeling here that I like. I wanted this to be on the verge of warm, but still keeping pretty neutral and cool and calm. Okay, so now about the hallway color. My first pictures show a neutral warm for the first part of this building. I would recommend getting progressively cooler as go through the building in a clockwise manner. I confess that I just don't believe in carpet, but I do believe in wooden floors, and I also believe, most of all, in an industrial product called marmoleum, which is a durable natural product from the flooring manufacturer Forbo in England. Action Flooring is a company who supplies it and installs it in Kingston, and it's such a gorgeous product, cheaper than ceramic tiles, cheaper than hardwood. It has to be installed by experienced professionals. It's long-lasting and waterproof, suitable for kitchens and bathrooms, suitable for industrial spaces, and it comes in many colors. It needs to be installed on a smooth, flat, level surface. It can be installed over a plywood substrate. I would prefer marmoleum over wood or ceramic tiles. The main reason I'm thinking so much about marmoleum in this case is that it's very effective for sound reduction, which means that it's going to dampen the sounds in the hallways. This means that dogs who are living in the building won't be able to hear other dogs as clearly, and any barking or yelling in the hallways will sound quieter. Frequently, this product is used in hospitals and schools because it's non-toxic and healthy and safe, even for those who are sensitive. That's another thing I would recommend zero VOC paint for a good, healthy atmosphere for all the sensitive little ones that may be living in this building. So here for the foyer and all through the main stairwell, I've chosen a warm, creamy color for the walls, and on the floor, a marmoleum called Cocoa White Chocolate. On the far floor where there's wood right now, this first one is marmoleum blue ice, which I probably would recommend closer to the northern corner of in the northeastern part of the building. I've also tried marmoleum liquid clay, which is a warmer color, maybe for the immediate eastern part of the building and the southern part of the building. Here is marmoleum matcha, and lastly, marmoleum silt. And I think it would be fun if these were kind of mixed in. Basically, the entry is best a warmer place in the building. Along the southern wall, the colors should be warm, generally getting cooler as they move toward the north and toward the northeast of the building. All marmoleum can be welded together to make a waterproof seal, and this flooring has a lot of longevity. As for the interior apartment walls, I would go with white and gray, warmer creams in the front of the building and in the south, and cooler colors like crisp white and cool gray in the back of the building and the northeast. What is going to look good in the building is a progression of warmer to cooler neutrals as you travel in a clockwise motion through the building on every floor. For the stairwells in the northern part of the building, this is a very special space. I would just paint them something like a very basic titanium white. It is more important than anything for this northern stairwell to look cool and clean, so it's good if you get a basic color that's easy to match and repaint again and again. I would recommend a marmoleum blue ice in that stairwell. This is where people might appreciate some simplicity and a place they can really chill for a minute before leaving. So now I'm going to talk about each level in detail. The basement has a 4-bedroom apartment and a 1-bedroom apartment. Their primary access is from the front door and the main entrance of the building on the eastern point of the building. Both of these apartments has access to the secondary York Street door from bedrooms. Starting with the 4-bedroom apartment, as soon as you come into this large area, you have a room with no windows. I would make use of this wall immediately to the left and make a great big luxurious window to let light in from this 24-hour illuminated space, the stairwell on the other side, using thick glass bricks that are translucent and will give the tenants lots of light and lots of privacy at the same time. I would make a nice wooden windowsill and a wooden window header maybe. This wall and this entrance of the space is so far away from the bedrooms, the light from this false window is not likely to disturb sleepers. It will also add interest to the stairwell and to this room, and it's a great device to add lighting and lumens to the space that can potentially come off as a little dark. It's also a nod to the original design of the building. With the glass bricks, which you could even reuse, you could even use these original bricks for this purpose. The internal brick window also feels like a regular window, so it would make it seem less like a basement apartment, which is nice. For this basement 4-bedroom apartment, more than every other space, it's imperative that the unit have a lot of lumens coming down from the ceiling and a ceiling height as high as it can be. I would also put a front door closet in every single unit, but in this one for sure, so that people can take their coats off and shoes and put them somewhere. I would personally also swap the kitchen and the living room in this particular space and put the appliances in the center room, but that's just a matter of preference. It's no big deal if it stays the way it is. The middle room has windows, that's all I mean, so you can get the food smells out of the apartment more effectively. Smaller kitchens are also easier to cook in because of the cooking triangle. This is what I would want for all the kitchens in the building. However, as I said, it's a good design and it's no big deal if it happens to turn out the way it is. It's perfect. It's just a matter of preference. If you did do that switch, it would make for a really nice big entryway and a lovely big living room with space for a closet when you first enter, which I think would be nice. Anyway, throughout the building we are seeing interesting shapes and configurations and uniqueness because of the triangular shape of the building. Everything is kind of compact as you would expect. These bedrooms are 11 by 12 on average from the plan, sometimes smaller, but surprisingly the deep angles make for some excellent bedroom closet spaces. Look at these amazing huge closets. The only major concern I can think of is that one bathroom may not be enough for the 4-bedroom apartment designs. I'd like to see another washroom in there, perhaps even in the master suite. That would make this whole space a lot more functional. I'm seeing a lot of good things. As for the 1-bedroom apartment, it has a nice big open concept living room, kitchen, dining area, which is beautiful. Again, this design that the architects made has a really nice sized closet in the bedroom. I would like to see another big luxurious glass brick false window from the stairwell into the open concept space just in front of where the fridge is drawn in now, to give this 1-bedroom the feeling of not being in a basement necessarily. And I would like to use the dead space immediately to the right of the front door as a huge closet for storage and shoes and bags and coats and things. This mechanical room is also in the warmer part of the building at the front in the east. This room needs a lot of beauty to make up for the fact that they're storing garbage and mechanical things inside of it. I would recommend another lovely internal false window with those beautiful glass bricks to the mechanical room from the stairwell and lots of lumens. I would recommend the best and most open-hearted work for this little room that is carrying so much for this building. The better this room feels, the cleaner and more efficiently this building is going to operate. I would highly recommend ceilings as tall as you can make them, as many lumens as possible, lots of wood accents, and the same as the stairwells, I would recommend a warm marmoleum and cocoa white chocolate, maybe a nice heavy wooden door for something different, and the same warm creamy white color as in the hallway. Ventilation is obviously really important here for those working in the mechanical room and using the stairwell. If you are using a receptacle for garbage, I would make maybe a few of them and have them be removable and cleanable with a hose on the side of the building. Here is the main floor of the building, which has 2 accessible apartments, a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom, and also a 2-bedroom that is not accessible, 3 accessible bedrooms. Starting with the accessible 1-bedroom, you can see that it includes an indoor bike shed in the living room. My guess is that you could put these bike sheds in any of the units that wanted them. They are probably portable sheds. These are depicted here on the first floor in each of the accessible apartments. It's a nice flexible idea to be able to store your bike in your apartment. Another idea would be, if you're not in need of the accessible apartment, you could put your bike on the roof, which means hauling it up the stairs. But there's a pergola up there, and it would be a cute space to store them with a little shed, or even if there was a bicycle hitch on the roof or some kind of a little structure for them. The accessible 1-bedroom is very well designed with an entrance at the main door and a second private entrance on the ordnance side of the building, which is very nice. I like those false glass brick windows, and if there were one in every apartment in the living spaces, not in the bedrooms obviously, that would be a cute signature. I pictured each of these with a little wooden windowsill. Having anything sticking out of an accessible apartment's wall wouldn't be a good thing. So you'd have to make sure it was nice and flat to the wall if you installed it here. Anyway, this apartment is lovely. Maybe another closet in the living space would be nice as an idea for all of the apartments. The non-accessible unit is a 2-bedroom that has only one entrance from the Ordnance Street side, and it has the corner of the building in the living room, the perfect place for a large entry closet. Anyway, it has a great design and a beautiful little galley kitchen. For the accessible 2-bedroom unit, there are 2 entrances, the main entranceway and the secondary entrance on York Street, except that only one of these entrances is accessible. It would be nice if there was a wheelchair lift off of the step in the back. The second and third floors are designed exactly like the basement, except for with big beautiful windows and Juliet balconies. The first unit is a 4-bedroom and the second unit is a 2-bedroom because the spot where the maintenance room is in the basement has been turned into a lovely, unusually shaped bedroom at the front of the building with lovely big windows that you can see at the front of the building in elevations. Each of these apartments has secondary entrances from bedrooms that go out to the northern stairwell. The rooftop has a 4-foot 2-inch parapet wall and a 16 by 16 pergola in the middle. It is accessed by both staircases and is a really wonderful idea. I would bet the views from up here are going to be so beautiful of the little neighborhood and the park. You could even put a little garden up here and it would be so nice as a green roof. Anyway, it's such a pleasure for me to take a look at this design. I'm so pleased to have taken this trip through the proposal and roughly sketch out the project. There are so many nice possibilities. This property is so pleasant, and I hope that those who end up in this building make a lot of wonderful memories here. If you have a space that you would like me to do a little reading for, like this one, I charge $100 for on-demand readings. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.